Today, a passionate and dedicated youth leader, Templeton Sawyer, will be joining us. Inspiration, leadership, and personal development are at the core of his work. As Atlantic Business Magazine 30 Under 30 Innovators nominee in Atlantic, Canada, Templeton strives to empower communities and push daily towards inspiration. Now let's get into the discussion. I think it's important to just create a raw, authentic space for persons to get to know more about you. Can you tell us a little more about who is Templeton and what is his journey to Atlantic, Canada?
So Templeton Sawyer is an island boy. Grew up all the way in a smaller island of the Bahamas called Treasure Key Abaco. And he spent his whole, I would say, primary school years and then moved to the capital of Nassau. And that part is where his leadership started. And I always try to say that my leadership started in that area of high school because I got the opportunity to be exposed to public speaking, leadership abilities, and positions that I've held at my school as prefect, head boy, which is one of the British way of saying that you're a student administrator at your school. So giving those opportunities have allowed me to push in some struggles that I faced a lot during my academics. I still allowed my leadership to be the louder voice in order to push forward and to get where I am today.
So Templeton, a lot of times it's very difficult to strike the balance between academics and leadership. I know there are persons in school who do better in leadership than academics.
Right.
Who or what was your driving force to help you put both academics and leadership into focus?
Wow. I would say my mom. I would say she's that type of person because she always told me, and for some reason I got upset every time she tells me, said, every time I go to her about an opportunity or a leadership opportunity, said, yes, Tyler, but remember your education and your books come first. I say, but you're not listening to the words that I said to you about the leadership opportunity. And I said, like, but mommy, and so I'm seeing why she's instilled in me and say, focus on your education because you need both to align. And because she is an educator, I feel that that's why she saw the importance of sharing that with me.
Templeton, we have so much in common. My mommy is a Caribbean educator, and I know the Caribbean parents can be very strict as it relates to your academic performance and your leadership. Now that we got a little to know a little about you and who was your driving force, I think it's very important to know, how do you define leadership? Some persons see leadership as a person holding a position of power, a title, leading an organization, but how does Templeton see leadership?
That's a great question. In some ways, leadership has a lot of definition, but one of the definitions I would say is leadership is all about fairness. Leadership, you have to play the fair game right, and how you're understanding, how you're motivating, how you're listening, and being fair to those who are around you. Also, leadership is about eating first in order to serve others. And that's very important. You have to give yourself the nutrients, you have to motivate yourself in order to go out into the community to inspire people. Yet some people might say that you should eat last and serve others first. I agree in some instances you should, but when it comes down to personal development, you should try to serve yourself first in order to serve the community.
So that's a very interesting concept about eating first and then serving others. Could you share with us some more concrete examples of where you have, applied that concept of eating first?
Yeah. For example, I worked at Teamwork Cooperative, which is an employment agency, and I always try to tell people, because they don't know how I get all my position and everything that I do, how I get it all done. And I always try to tell people within my day, try to take some focus days, some focus times scheduled in my calendar where I settle down, regather my thoughts, and then I focus on those projects heavenly. And then if I have a set time, I try to do that. And I try to push until the project is done. In between, I take breaks, but sometimes it doesn't look like I took a break, but I either listen to music in my ears, that means I'm taking a break, or I try to just look at something, just scroll on on social media just to see what's going on in the world, because I always try to keep myself abreast or updated, I would say, as to what's going on in the community. So yeah.
So you like listening to you, I could feel and I could hear your passion, and not just about your personal development, but serving people in different capacity, whether it be as a lead information specialist at Teamwork Cooperative or in your community. Could you share with me what are the most fulfilling aspects of your day? What makes Templeton get up and say, yes, I have achieved my purpose by helping the community?
You know, what makes me happy that I get a what makes me happy, I would say, reflecting, because I love to reflect when it comes down to responding. What makes me happy when it comes down to making sure everything is all done is just making sure that all the tasks that you've set to do for the day, or what I've set to do for the day, is completed. And what ways I do that is I try to write down each task. But what makes me more happy is seeing my client's face lit up and they're smiling and they're happy. I had a client. I wouldn't go into too much details, but at the beginning, she just said, like, "You made my day by just smiling."
Wow.
And I went on social media, actually. I say, be careful of the expression on your face, because it will set the tune in your atmosphere. Your facial expression, your tune just sets. And the thing about it, it's a funny story. I was waiting on my cab driver, and when I came out maybe happy with some positive energy. And the guy said, "Good morning, sir." I said, "Good morning, how are you?" And so he said, "Just wanted to let you know you made my morning by just smiling and being positive." I didn't say a word to this guy. All I came out of the house smiling, maybe after a conversation I had on the phone, and he overheard it, and it made a big impression on his face. So be careful of the surroundings. And so people is very important, and people and expression and is what makes me happy.
That's a very good advice in terms of facial expression. Like it's the small things that communicate the big details. So thank you for that, Templeton. Now, as I said before, this is a space where you're going to be raw, you're going to be authentic, because
Right?
leadership is not linear. It's not always sunshine. It's not
No,
always a smile on your face.
no.
Could you share with us those moments of challenges that really push you to the point where you said, I feel like giving up, I'm frustrated. Please share with us those moments.
Wow. You said I could be raw, so I am
Yes.
definitely going to be raw. So I always wanted to be a part of student politics, and student politics was very important to me. It still is, for advocating for students and all that good stuff. So back in 2019, I got voted in as vice president communication at my university student union, and I must say that at the beginning it was very enjoyable, because we, as a team, we got the collective part to play and all that good stuff. But when it became challenging when the new semester began, where there was some individuals who were challenging us, and sometimes it depends on the type of challenge. Like, I love when students hold us accountable, but when you're actually thinking of being aggressive and trying to get your message across in a raw, inappropriate way, it was tough for me. And a lot of my executives then had to, well, they were forced to resign by them. They themselves resigned because the environment wasn't healthy. But I stayed in the midst of all the mess that was going on, and I remained humble. And a lot of people ask me, say, "Tyler, how did you stay? Why did you stay?" I said, I stayed because there were several students who left sticky notes on my door to encourage me to say, keep going, keep pushing. We're seeing you. We're seeing the hard work that you're doing. And yes, there were days I remember when I was threatened to be impeached because of a decision that was effective for our student body. And because one of the students said something in a wrong context without asking questions, um, they wanted me to remove it. I said, like, no, I'm not removing it because of one student. Other students, and I always try to tell people, you have to make tough decisions. And my decision making skills were it was challenging. I had to think about each decision I made in my role, which was really good to be thinking about decisions that you're making. But one of the things I had to think about was, how is this benefiting the students?
Great.
And
So, question,
yeah,
not to that
impeachment.
impeach you or anything,
Impeachment, yeah.
but I would like to know. Decision making is very critical, especially in a time of crisis or challenge. How would you describe your leadership style? Are you more of a lone wolf? Are you a collaborative decision maker? And how do you navigate the waters of listening to so many voices at the table?
Listening is key. I would say listening is key. And like I say, at that impeachment, I wasn't impeached. It was just a meeting of them trying to, but they didn't have no legitimate evidence to impeach me because they know everything, all of the evidence was right. And so, based on my humility, I had to be humble. I had to show my humbleness and my vulnerability. But a lot of people say, oh, you should not try to be humble. But I always say, in leadership, you have to show your humility in order to let them feel guilty for questioning your leadership. And sometimes, yes, my leadership has been questioned a lot in regards to my skill of fairness, because a lot of people don't believe in listening to both sides of the story. And for me, I believe in listening to both, then not putting myself on one side, but also being in the middle to listen to both and to be a part of both conversations. And because of that, sometimes it was challenging. And yeah, it was challenging, but at the end of the day, I stood my ground. I stood my values of leadership, of fairness, of advocacy, and of communication. And one of the things that's important in decision making is communication, because communication makes it more effective and it makes it more possible to happen.
Excellent. So what I'm getting from you, you are a values driven person, and your values shape a lot of not who you are, but how you approach your leadership. Could you tell me like a specific moment, an event, or a particular issue that you wanted to advocate for, but you personally believe that it didn't go as planned?
That's a thought. One of my leadership roles of being a residence advisor, and I had to make a decision as to whether I want to stay on the team or do I want to proceed and moving forward. The residence advisor position was one of the crucial leadership roles in the university regarding resident students and making sure that you're counseling your way through. Yes, sometimes there was some challenges between persons on the team, but that didn't stop me from serving my students and all that good stuff. But I had to make the tough decision for myself in order to move forward in that way, to say, hey, I have to do what's best for me. And it worked out for the best. Sometimes I did wish I have stayed because I wanted to empower more of the resident students, but at the end of the day, if I want to shift into another level, I had to change and adapt to that. And it was different for sure because I spent basically 2 years in that, but two different colleges.
Wow. So what I'm getting from you is change and adaptation is
Mm.
inevitable. And I know depending on what kind of changes there are, a lot of us can be very fearful.
Mm.
Like, what are some of your strategies to overcome that fear to position you for the next level?
Well, like I say, reflecting is very important. Reflecting helps me to identify the key fears and then providing some type of solutions to those fears. Um, and also seeking advice from individuals like yourself, like my mom, as well, and also my family members who I tend to go to for every situation. Or I have two best friends who I tend to ask questions about. So, yeah.
So now that you have revealed the advice part of it, that leads me into the question about support system.
Mhm.
Now, in the Caribbean, we have this saying, no man is an island, no man stands alone. At every part of our journey, even the most successful leaders, when we look at them, need a very strong support system.
Mm.
Tell us about your support system and how important it is to your personal and your career development.
Yeah. My support system, I would say, is um, I have a counselor. A lot of people don't know that I go to counseling because I need a space where I could get loud, express my feelings and all that good stuff. And so I would normally go to my counselor and express all those thoughts to them and then express how I'm feeling in order to move forward. And that support system has helped me a lot to one, to continue to strive and also to continue to have my energy in most ways because I tend not to share a lot of my energy on social media, a lot of my energy to my friends, even though my friends are my support systems as well. But I tend not to share too much to hold them down because I know that they go through things as well. So I try to give it to the person who went to school to do it and let them actually try to build upon that thoughts to encourage me. So yeah.
Yeah, so building on the support system
Mm.
now, who are those persons who believe in Templeton's leadership? They have been positively
You do.
impacting my yes, I know about me, but there are other persons
Right, right, right,
I'm really intrigued to know about,
right,
right?
right.
Tell me, what do they think about Templeton's leadership in terms of his impact? Are there any stories of change, any stories of impact, whether at the community level?
Mm-hmm,
Could it be back home in Bahamas, and it
mm-hmm,
could be here
mm-hmm.
in the employment services system in Nova Scotia?
Yeah, yeah. I would say that those persons I would firstly mention the Tweet Leader New team. They are persons. So last month,
Mm-hmm.
well, May of this year, I had a thought of gathering individuals to be a part of the Tweet the Leader New podcast team. And when I was thinking about this, I say, okay, I have to think about strong individuals, but also persons who are committed. And those individuals have so far stuck by my side and their impact motivation. I can mention them. Shelly, who is actually leading our operations, and also Israel, who's the producer, who's the main man.
Big up
I
Israel.
call him my boss
Big
and,
up
and all that good
Israel.
stuff. I would also say Luke, who's also like the strategist. Sheldon as well. I can't forget Sheldon because
Sheldon, big up.
Sheldon always helps out with the editing and also beats to the in-person recordings as well. And I would say Raheem, who's also dealing with the creative side, and also we got recently got a new member who's joining our creative team is Ashley Hickey, and so I'm pretty excited. And so we have creative minds, and so they have inspired me through the conversations that we've had, and I've been motivating them and sending them messages on the team in our Tweet Leader New WhatsApp group. I'll always try to encourage them to be the best version of themselves and to also take care of themselves even though while serving. And I would say at work, yes, I do have a team of persons who I would go to as well. And they see me as a role model as well. A lot of them has come to me for words of advice just words of conversation, and it's really a humbling space for a lot of people to admire the work that I do, because some of them saying, "Oh, I don't have the energy that you have to do." I say, "Well, it's just that you have to have the passion to do what you want to do, and don't settle with the I can, but I can do it." So I would say those two groups, but I would also say my school back home. Every time I go back home, I'm always giving back to my school, and I'm always speaking to the seventh graders and those persons who struggle academically as well or passionate about leadership. I encourage and keep on to engage them to be the best that they can and to not give up and to continue to strive. It just comes down to those three groups, but I would say there are more individuals who see me as a role model and inspiration. I do have mentees who I mentor, and I must say they look up to me as well. I just take it as a humbling way. I don't take it as an ego way of actually doing this. And I must want to share that, hey, this discussion is not sharing my ego way of leadership, but also sharing a journey of where I am and where I'm going and where I'm heading in the future. So
Excellent. So,
yeah.
Templeton, sometime last year, you shared a Facebook post being very open about you overcoming bullying and you using your story, your personal platform to mentor persons. Could you just share with us a little bit more about that post and some of the persons you're mentoring back home?
Yeah, for sure. I would say, yeah, there was some persons who bullied me when I was in high school, and I shared in that post that those persons who bullied me, I'm bullying. I mean, I'm encouraging and mentoring them as well. Well, bullying them into success. Let's just so they bully me in a negative way, but I'm bullying them back into success in a positive way, and so it brings a tune of where they're going, and I would say a lot of persons who I'm mentoring who they didn't bully me, but I'm mentoring persons like Darnishka Taylor, like Alex. He's a guy who I mentored back in Prince Edward Island. I have another student. His name is Leem. I have another one. Her name is Keisha, and all that good stuff. And so there are a lot of persons who I'm mentoring, who I who I do love all dearly. But I'm not going to say all your names all at once. But I have hearts towards all of you and all that good stuff. So yeah.
Like Templeton, this is a part that we get more sincere and deeper into the discussion. So today, when I look at my calendar, it's our documentary, but it also marks 1 year since we have met each other. You have been a brother to me. You have been a friend. You've been a confidant, a supporter. We work on projects together. Like, I think it's important to let
You
this
sound like you're about to,
audience
you sound like you're
know.
about to cry.
Yeah, let this audience know
Yeah.
a little bit, not necessarily our journey, but what was your initial reaction when we met, and explain to them how did we meet?
Yeah. So normally I'm a networking type person and all that good stuff. And actually, I connected with Tina on my way on a bus to Prince Edward Island to have some relaxation time. And I saw Tina's LinkedIn page and I wanted to actually connect in regards to the policy work that she does. And I was wanting her to be one of my mentors because I saw the passion that she's doing through her work. And we got on a call the following day after our conversation. She scheduled in on a Saturday, and I was in Starbucks. I can remember this clearly when Tina actually had a conversation with me and all that good stuff. And ever since, Tina has been one of my biggest supporters, and she would always try to encourage me to do my best and to also take care of myself. And I must say, Tina, I appreciate all the work that we've done together because I've seen your passion and everything. I've brought Tina into projects that I'm working on, and I'm going to continue to do that because I value you, and I don't even see you as I see you as a mentor. I see you as a sister, most importantly. And that sister and brotherly love, is very important. And you always be open with me and all that good stuff, which is very important to help me grow.
And I value you so much too, Templeton.
Yeah.
You are not just a phenomenal leader, but at heart, you have a very beautiful soul.
Yeah.
So, getting into the more exciting stuff, like I know you. Listen, every time people see you, you're always on the move, you're energetic.
Yeah.
Like, tell us what is up next for Templeton.
What's next? Wow. So currently we're working on just moving Tweet the Leader and You podcast into my actual brand of Tweet the Leader and You. And so I'm looking forward to visioning that out. There's another project that I'm working on towards governance, which is going to be very gauged towards nonprofit organizations and all that good stuff. And I'll be then tagged along to do some other good stuff. Yeah, there's some speaking engagements that I'm trying to schedule and also plan towards. But I always try to encourage people to stay updated to my social media on Instagram because I use those platforms for positivity, opportunities, and connections. So if you follow me on my LinkedIn, you get a lot of job opportunities and other posts. If you follow me on Instagram, you get my motivation, accomplishments, and where I'm going, and seemingly on Facebook as well. Twitter, I'm trying to get there, but I'm posting the podcast on there as well, which is helping me. But that's what's next right now. And I'm finishing up my bachelor's degree at Mount St. Vincent University. So 5 more courses to go, and then I'm actually all done. And then I'll be graduated, and then I'll take maybe a year or two before I go on to do my master's in public policy to actually become more of an agent on a national platform.
This is exciting. This is amazing. I'm proud of you and congratulations in advance, not just with your projects, but upon completing your bachelor's degree. So we want to end with a bang. And it's an announcement. Templeton has made this announcement on his LinkedIn platform. But for those of you who are not connected with Templeton, he was recently nominated by Atlantic Business Magazine as top 30 under 30 innovators in Atlantic Canada. This is big. Templeton, what was your initial reaction when you got that email?
I was screaming. I was actually in my office that day, and I was screaming. I was like, "What? What is this email? What? What?" But initially, I give it all to one of my team members, Shelly, because we had a conversation about this, and we were actually in a meeting at the same time, and it actually the email just popped up. It at the same time as we were having a conversation. I was like, "What?" And so like we were all jumping for joy, and I reflect a lot. I was emotional a little bit about it as well because I was saying like, "Wow, I've never been nominated for something. I've always got leadership awards and recognitions, but to be nominated for an achievement of high achievement. I mean, all my achievements pretty high, but this one brings to another level as well of how I'm making an impact into the community.
So, thank you so much for this, Templeton. We're going to end with a very, very nice question. And we have covered your personal journey from Bahamas to Canada. You have covered who and or what inspires you, your support system, your stance on leadership. I think it's important for our generation and for the next. What are some of your top 3 to 5 most important lessons from your journey or any advice that you would like to pass on to our audience today?
Yeah. Number 1, feedback. Always be aware and always be appreciative for feedback because I actually got my first feedback when I came to Halifax. I never got a feedback in my life. I was like, what? What is this? It means I'm doing a horrible job, but it didn't mean I was doing
And
a
who was
horrible.
that feedback from?
It was actually from one of my residents, my residence manager, Lynn. And she's amazing. She's an awesome individual. But it wasn't a negative feedback she was giving me. It was just a positive way of encouraging me to do something and changing it a different way and all that good stuff. And so I took offense sometime to the feedback, but that was back in 2019. And we're speaking about the present moment, how I reflect that feedback is very important in order to help me, in order to help people to move forward. You have to be open to feedback in order to grow. The second one I would say is listen. Listening is very important. Sometimes I used to be that type of person where I would not even listen to the individual, but I would go beyond the conversation and talk until I'm done, but then don't want to give the other person a chance. And that's not leadership. It's like you're encouraging people to do better, but you're not being better as well. And so for me, I had to actually learn how to listen. So my listening skills, I would say they are continuing to improve as we move forward. And I'm always catching myself when I am not listening. And that way I always start to practice to acknowledge things. And I would say the last one is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is very important, because if you did something that was not of your leadership value or leadership character, go back to that individual and say, hey, I realized that I did that. Even though that person might not even realize that you did that, it was out of your leadership character. And because I know what my leadership character stands for, I will go back to people and say, hey, I apologize because I said this and that's not within my character. Or I acted this way and that's not in my character. Or I had a bad day, so I act in this tune. And so I know that my leadership character is very full of acknowledging as well. That helps me to grow.
Thank you so much for these powerful,
No
profound
problem.
lessons. And we've all been inspired by you. I know you will continue to do great things. And most importantly, your cheerleaders, your support team, your team at work, your team from back home, your team in your communities. We are not only cheering you on, we are going to now apply and reflect on all of what you've shared with us today.
Yes.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.